What's up, Docs and Docettes? Trevor Thompson, the self-appointed Looney Tunes critic, here at the bar, having a cocktail, and I'm wearing my Daffy shirt. Why am I wearing my Daffy shirt? Because I don't have a Sylvester shirt. And that is now the where we're going with this. It's a Sylvester Daffy kind of thing, baby. It is your daily dose of What's Up, Dockery, riding the shield. Cheers. So did Mel Blanc give Daffy Duck and Sylvester the Cat the same voice? No, of course not. Well, that's it for this video. Be sure to give a thumbs up, like us. I'm just kidding. But a lot of people think that sometimes because it's somewhat common knowledge by now. Hopefully, God willing, if I do my job on this earth. Knock on not even remotely some wood. A good number of people now know that Daffy's voice is a lisped Mel Blanc voice, sped up 3 semitones, and that Sylvester's voice is a lisped Mel Blanc voice, not sped up at all.
This is the last time I work with someone with a speech impediment.
The last time I work with someone with a speech impediment.
It's a fair, honest mistake to make. People like the great Greg Ford even made that mistake once. The story goes that Greg, when he was directing Mel in Daffy Duck's Quackbusters, the movie he directed and made with animator Terry Lennon, he was getting ready to direct Mel for some lines for Sylvester or for Daffy, just like I did just now. He messed it up. He said, Daffy or Daffy, Sylvester, what's the difference, right? And Mel said, oh no, there is a difference. And Greg was like, really? And said, oh yes, 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 yes. Sylvester's a genteel, Daffy's a Jew. In fact, I've said before, and this is I think this is good enough to be what, you know, something. I mean, it's a joke, obviously, but there is a line that I found in this cartoon with Daffy and Porky as, you know, sheriffs of this one-horse town, and Daffy's staring down Nasty Canasta, and he says this line.
Hankering for trouble, eh? Well, I would like a trip to Europe. I would like to introduce myself.
I would like, even looks at the camera, does the shoulder shrug and everything, so who knows? Yeah, Daffy's definitely, if he's not a Jew, he's definitely Jewish. So if we switch to my laptop here, I've got 8 videos, and they are 3 different clips from 3 different sources. The first one being Daffy Duck's Quackbusters, the second one being an episode of Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, and the third being a clip from Bugs Bunny's Lunar Tunes. And the reason I've selected these is because we're talking essentially about Daffy and Sylvester, and what I'm essentially trying to drive home here is that the pitch percentages are not, it's not a science, meaning that it's something that you apply based on the voice actor who is doing the character at the time. Now, my example of a voice actor who is not Mel Blanc doing a Mel Blanc originated character is Joe Alasky from these 2 examples. And of course, we're talking about Daffy and Sylvester and how close they supposedly were. So the reason I picked Joe Alasky is because Joe Alasky, more than any other voice actor to take over the characters at all after Mel passed away, is the only one who can do, when Joe Alasky was still alive, if the studio, if there was a project wherein you needed the characters to sound as much like Mel Blanc's iteration of the characters, a specific voice print, meaning like Joe Alasky is the guy who did, you know, he fooled Mel Blanc into thinking it was him from Roger Rabbit. Mel Blanc laid down the original voice track for Yosemite Sam, and he couldn't do it because he was too old, but they were very polite to him. They said, we'll work with what you give us. And then they got Joe Alasky to do it, and Mel heard that and thought it was him. So Joe Alasky, more than anyone else, is the guy who can get the actual Mel Blanc voice print right. And yet, even in these examples that I've cited, when you do the same pitch corrections and semitone numbers and things like that, you get a completely different product. And this is what I'm breaking this down to show you. So we're going to start with Daffy Duck's Quackbusters, because Quackbusters, probably more than anything else, I mean, that's the last really big project. And also, I want to acknowledge Jeff Bergman while I'm talking about this, because this is a time, very young, Looney Tunes critic. All this was happening before my eyes. I was 10 years old when Quackbusters came out. The first time I ever saw Jeff Bergman, approximating Mel Blanc was in this video here.
Which you can get free by dialing this 800 number. Which you can get now by dialing this 900 number.
Jeff Bergman is an amazing Bugs, and he's probably the most nuanced Bugs, to be quite honest, in terms of getting to flex and do different things. But back then, he was not the best guy for putting, substituting Mel when you could still hear Mel. And now we've got Joe Lasky, doing things like, adding extra yells and things like that for, the Sylvester and Tweety, I Thought I Saw a Putty Tat Mel Blanc record, short, the little short, that Matthew O'Callaghan did. Only Joe Lasky could have done those yells and everything to be right next to Mel's original performance. So again, we've got a guy who was as close to sounding like Mel Blanc as you could possibly get, and yet when you still apply the same processes and things like that, you weren't getting the same thing. So Dabby Duck's Quackbusters, and I'm friends with the director Greg Ford for Quackbusters, and he has said time and again that it was a strange time in those days in the 80s trying to get the percentages right, and also Mel was getting older, and so the often post 50s 3 semitones formula that Mel had been using for the kind of Chuck Jones greedy Daffy, that was probably not the best application, because they were using that on Quackbusters. They were using Mel's, the 3 semitones, and you guys can see for yourself when I play this clip. It's not as Daffy as it could be. So here it is.
Right this way, folks. Right this way. It's a bargain at any price. Step right up and get yourself a brand new DeLorean. No household should be without one. Just $60,000 in 3 easy weekly installments. Yes, sir. These little babies are selling like hotcakes.
By the way, I also should say, if it sounds a little weird to you at first there, I did some tweaking to the audio so we could just hear the voices, and I tried to get rid of the score on all of these things as best I could so we could just zero in on the vocal performance itself. So that's what Mel sounded like in the actual final product. I did some tweaking with the some digital tweaking so that we could hear what Mel sounded like recorded. It is my estimation that, again, Greg didn't pitch Mel as much as he should have, but I know that he pitched him 3 semitones. So I kind of did some reverse engineering so that we could figure out what Mel actually sounded like when they recorded it originally. And you can hear Mel, you can hear a much older man in that original, in what I'm calling, and that's why the word original is in quotes there. It's the original pitch, but it's, of course, I pitched it to make it sound like that. But here it is.
Right this way, folks. Right this way. It's a bargain at any price. Step right up and get yourself a brand new DeLorean. No household should be without one. Just $60,000 in 3 easy weekly installments. Yes, sir. These little babies are selling like hotcakes.
Yeah, and the timbre, it sounds like Sylvester, but it doesn't sound like Sylvester at all in the performance. So now with the that same take in Quackbusters, I felt, you know, it didn't need a full 5 semitones on Mel's performance, but so I went up I think 1.75, or at least 1.5 semitones up from where Greg and Terry and everybody where they originally pitched it. So if you listen to some other stuff that was recorded in the with Daffy around that time, that you feel like they did get the pitch right, it sounds closer to this. So with what I assume would be Greg Ford's blessing, here is my final pitch correction to get Daffy sounding where he should be.
Right this way, folks. Right this way. It's a bargain at any price. Step right up and get yourself a brand new DeLorean. No household should be without one. Just $60,000 in 3 easy weekly installments. Yes, sir. These little babies are selling like hotcakes.
By the way, if you think it's a coincidence that I chose the clip in Daffy Duck's Quackbusters to use where it says where Mel gets his on-screen credit, if you think that's a coincidence, you're a very silly person. So anyway, now we're gonna go down to this second row, and it's all of Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries. This one clip, and let's just start off with what it actually is.
Milk? Jeez, I'd rather have some bicarbonate of soda. Something I ate doesn't exactly agree with me.
So that's Joe Lasky, and again, I tweaked it so we could just hear his voice and not get the background score in there. Because sometimes when you do the pitch stuff, the background score just it sounds weirder. So this is really to narrow in on that. So that's what Joe, just a palate cleanser, that's what Joe's Sylvester sounds like. And to do kind of reverse pitching, to kind of imagine what, if the whole thing about it, Daffy and Sylvester is like true and they're really this close, theoretically you should be able to apply a 3-semitone pitch to Joe Lasky's Sylvester and get Joe Lasky's Daffy, which just for the record sounds like this.
That was one small step for a duck, one giant leap in residuals.
So I applied that to that Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries 3 semitones, and it should sound exactly like what we just heard, right?
Milk? Jeez, I'd rather have some bicarbonate of soda. Something I ate doesn't exactly agree with me.
Yeah, it doesn't sound anything like it. Oh, maybe we just need to apply more pitching.
Milk? Jeez, I'd rather have some bicarbonate of soda. Something I ate doesn't exactly agree with me.
Yeah, it doesn't change the performance, ladies and gentlemen. If there was pitching on Joe Lasky, there's a weird theory about Lasky that's going around that he was pitched, and especially that his Daffy was pitched in certain, and it never was. I don't know why people think that, but maybe this video can help support that theory. Again, the clip from Bugs Bunny's Lunar Tunes is this.
That was one small step for a duck, one giant leap in residuals.
And presumably, if I just reverse engineer it, we should be able to hear Sylvester. We should be able to hear Joe Lasky Sylvester if I just go -3 semitones, right?
That was one small step for a duck, one giant leap in residuals.
I mean, a tiny bit. I'll give you the tonalities there, sort of, but again, that performance is completely different. That the accent's different. There's only so much that can be done technical. We can talk all day about ribbon mics and pitching and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, there's just an untouchable magic about these characters, and everything deserves its own due course. You can talk about Daffy and Sylvester are the same. Well, they're not the same, because if you apply the same checks and balances, it should, as to what they did with Mel, it should apply, but it doesn't. So here we are now. The end. And that was and is the greatest Ride in the Shield I have ever done. Cheers to me. Be sure to give a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Smash that stupid fucking bell for notifications. And until next time, that's all, folks.